So in this video, I wanted to talk about how a person's manifesting style changes as they spiritually evolve and eventually reach enlightenment. When a person first discovers the law of attraction or the law of assumption, quite often it's because they have just been dumped and they want to use something to get their ex back. So they start doing some research and eventually they stumble across an article that tells them how to manifest their ex back using the law of assumption. And of course, this is the beginning of that person's spiritual awakening. Of course, it's not always the case that a person spiritually awakens because they're trying to manifest an ex back. Obviously, there's a multitude of reasons why a person might spiritually awaken. Although truthfully, the main reason is because they were ready to awaken at that time, but there might be a multitude of circumstances that lead to a person's awakening. At first, this feels really fun and exciting because they realize that they can have everything they want and that they can control their reality and they're the god of their reality. And usually in the law of assumption community, you do hear a lot of things such as nobody has free will. There's even some people that say that everyone's just a puppet, incapable of acting outside of your assumptions of them. Now, while I won't comment on that, what I will say is that I've noticed a lot of people who start their awakening through trying to manifest a specific person. There's a few things that typically happen. They get really excited about the prospect of this. And they start getting really hooked on the idea of control. Not necessarily in a negative way, just the idea that they can control everything in their reality. And most importantly, that they can control their SP. They can make them say, do, think whatever they want them to think, rather than seeing their SP as their own person and loving and appreciating them for who they are. A lot of the times, a person will successfully manifest their SP back into their life, particularly if it's an ex. And then what will happen is they'll end up breaking up a few months later, or they'll kind of just grow tired of that particular person. They'll lose interest in them, and then they will decide to move on to another person. This doesn't always happen. Obviously, sometimes people manifest their exes back and they end up getting married to them. But a lot of the time, you manifest somebody back and then they will end up leaving again. Another thing that will happen is instead of actually being able to manifest them back in the first place, they'll try manifesting them back and they'll just notice that they're really not able to do it. They'll start to feel tired and they'll start to feel bored when saying their affirmations. So effectively, what they're doing when this happens is they're not manifesting from a place of desire, they're manifesting from a place of attachment. They're too afraid to let go of this person, so they're trying to manifest them back from an ego-based perspective. And this is the reason that the person starts to feel tired and bored when doing any techniques pertaining to this person. It almost feels easier to just kind of let go and move on. If this is how you feel and you persist and are able to bring this person back into your reality, chances are that you guys are going to end up breaking up again because the desire for this person isn't there, which is the reason that you struggled so much to manifest them in the first place. But as we go through our spiritual journey and as we start to become more conscious, and as our awakening progresses, we'll actually start to feel really uncomfortable holding on to old energies and old things that have overstayed their welcome, so to speak. As we begin to get more in touch with our intuition, we'll start to feel a kind of pull in a forward direction, a pull to kind of move on. If you're meant to be with somebody, then you're going to feel a really strong pull towards this person. And this pull isn't going to be a kind of pull that feels like attachment. It will feel like love. It will feel easy. It will feel free. It will feel effortless, and you won't be able to help but daydream about this person. You won't have to force your subconscious mind to be changed, because your desire for this person will be so strong that it will just feel easy, effortless, and natural to imagine yourself with this person. It will make you feel good. And as your awakening progresses, you'll begin to really seek out those feelings of desire. And you'll learn how to follow those feelings, and you'll actually learn how to detach and let go of anything that you no longer feel really has a place in your life. The idea of moving on won't scare you as much as it does in the beginning stages of manifesting. And you'll begin to realize that even though you can manifest whatever you want, that doesn't mean holding on to things that it's time to let go of. Eventually, you'll become more familiar with the feeling of when it's time to let go and when it's time to go after something new. So as you progress and spiritually grow and expand, you'll no longer have the desire to really hold on tightly to anything. You'll learn what it feels like to go with the flow of life, to go with the flow of nature, understanding impermanence and recognizing that nothing is forever. You'll learn how to fully detach and allow things to come and go as they're meant to. And your primary focus and your primary concern will be on maintaining this internal balance of peace, harmony, contentment with just being present. When you're in this balanced state internally, you'll begin to notice that things will start to shift drastically in your external reality. Things will start to be attracted into your life that are a perfect match to your internal harmony that you feel. If you desire something, you won't even have to manifest it. All you have to do is know that anytime you desire a thing, it's already yours. You won't have to sit there and do techniques. You can sit there and imagine that thing coming into your reality and let it put a smile on your face. But you'll be imagining it without attachment, because you've learned how to not be attached to anything. You're learning how to flow. You're learning how to let your soul lead you. So you know that any desires that you have, any true desires that come from the heart, that come from the soul, you know that you're already being led there. By practicing detachment, that's the direction that you will follow. That's the direction that life is going to lead you. So naturally, you won't have to try as hard as you do in the beginning stages of manifesting, because you understand that everything that is meant for you, everything that you want, is going to come to you regardless. All you have to do is be a beacon for that thing. All you have to do is radiate that internal harmony and stability. And when you do this, you become a perfect match to the things that you desire. So as you grow, you begin to realize it's less about control and it's more about allowing. And in fact, trying to control every element of your reality will no longer feel good to you. It will start to feel forced and like you're just holding on to old energy, which in turn will not make you feel very good. And you'll begin to realize it is much, much, much easier to be detached and to kind of allow the best possible experiences to come your way. It's much easier, it feels much more natural to go with the flow of life. And again, manifesting will become so easy and so effortless that it won't even really feel like manifesting. It will just feel as though you want something and you're automatically moving in that direction, especially when we consider where our desires come from in the first place. We don't sit there and come up with desires analytically. Instead, we just naturally feel called to a particular place, person, event, circumstance, thing, and if we allow, we will naturally be led in the direction of that thing. You'll no longer be holding on to this perfect, idealistic version of reality where every single thing is controlled. Instead, you will be open to the best version of everything. You will be open to being led where you are meant to be led. Practicing this allows for the absolute quickest spiritual expansion, and it is the quickest way to enlightenment because you're completely operating from a higher self level rather than operating from an ego level, which oftentimes will keep you stuck in the same mindset or the same patterns for a long time. If you allow your soul to steer the ship and to lead the way, it's allowing for soul growth and expansion in the quickest possible way. Because you're open to learning, you're open to having new experiences, and as we have experiences, we're able to learn from those experiences, and this helps us to grow even more. It can, of course, be scary to realize that we have no control or to relinquish control, and it can be quite tempting to want to control every little aspect of your reality and to want to hold on and have a death grip on certain things in our reality because we're afraid of letting go. But there really is nothing to be afraid of. If you truly desire a thing, you will have it. If you completely let go and allow that thing to come to you, it will. This is why all of our exes come back after we've let go and moved on and don't want them anymore. Because we're not trying to hold on to that thing so tightly that it can't come through to us, but rather we're allowing our primary focus to be feeling and maintaining that stability within us, which means we really are the best version of ourselves, which means we manifest the best version of the people in our realities. And we also manifest our exes or anyone else to be attracted to us, to be drawn to us, because they are simply reflecting the way that we feel about ourselves, and they're reflecting our state. There really is nothing to be afraid of, because ultimately we can never miss out on, or we can never lose what's meant for us if we maintain that state of allowing. Another thing that I wanted to add, going back to the beginning of the video where I talked about within the Law of Assumption community, there is often an emphasis on the fact that nobody else has free will in your reality. So a lot of people have this desire to control their SP, but the more you spiritually awaken, the more you realize that you have no desire to control another person. Instead, you learn to have love for anyone and anything in your reality. Even if that person hurts you, you still see through their conditioning and you see through to the being that they really are, which is the same being that you really are. And so you really do learn to look at everybody with love. And so when this happens, the desire to control another person automatically fades, and you learn to love and accept them for who they really are. And instead of trying to change their entire personality, you go back to doing that inner work of maintaining that inner harmony, balance, and alignment. And you understand that they will either come back to you the way that you want them to be because they're just reflecting you. But instead of trying to hold on to that person and trying to change them, you simply change yourself, understanding that either they will come back or you will meet somebody that is better suited to you, that already has those characteristics that you are looking for. The desire to change a person The desire to control a person isn't really a desire born out of love. It's a desire born out of ego, out of fear, and out of control. So as you grow and as your soul expands, that desire to control people will decrease. Of course, I'm not suggesting that we can't reconcile with an ex, and I'm not suggesting that a person can't show up differently for us, because they definitely can. The more work that we do on ourselves, the more this will be reflected in our outer reality. But I'm also speaking to the fact that we're not so much trying to hold on to and change a particular person, and we understand and accept the fact that if we do the inner work and our specific person doesn't show up for us in the way that they want, and they're still showing up for us in the old way, that there will be someone else who is going to show up for us in the way that we want them to. There'll be another person who is exactly everything that you wanted them to be already, without you having to change their pre-existing personality traits. It is true that we attract people based on our subconscious beliefs and maybe old cycles and old patterns that we're hanging on to. But we also acknowledge the fact that having new experiences with different people can facilitate and aid in our growth and also our happiness. So we don't push the idea of that away because we're preoccupied with changing a pre-existing person just because we're afraid of losing that person. Because again, if you do the inner work and you make yourself the priority, if that person is the person that you're meant to be with, if the desire for that person is really true in your heart, then that person will come back to you if you do the inner work. So again, there really isn't anything to be afraid of. You don't have to fear losing anything. And this is what going with the flow of life is all about.